Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name's Dahlia and we are back on Tumbleweed, my western ghost town island, working on our first official build. Do you guys remember last month when I restarted my island and I haven't touched it since?
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
I haven't done a single build on this island yet, but we're about to change that today, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like and comment if you enjoy. It helps me out more than you know. Subscribe if you are new to the channel and would like to see more of my content, and turn on the notification bell so you're notified of when I upload. I also have channel memberships available as well if you would like to become a member. It supports me and you get a ton of exclusive perks by being a member, like access to members only content, exclusive emotes you get to use in my streams, and other really fun things as well. So without further ado, let's get started. We have tons of stuff to do. If you guys remember the stream I did last month, I downloaded a bunch of paths. These are the paths that I'm going to use. Are they going to change? Are the other codes I use going to change? Possibly. I'm never one who sticks with the first thing that I decide to do, so it is highly possible that these will be changing over time, but this is what I have going right now. So let's get started with the build, and we're going to start with pathing. Okay, so I already did this build. I already did the build, but then I destroyed it, and now I'm redoing it because I hated it, and it had to be closer to my entrance. So I kept the terraforming. Okay, I kept the terraforming, and we're gonna pretend like nothing happened, and we're just gonna start over. But I am starting with the terraforming that I already did because I didn't want to have to redo that part. So I kind of just moved it around a little bit. But my idea for the entrance is I wanted something very enclosed. So my issue with having to restart is that everything was too far back. I wanted my pathing to be a lot more closer. I was leaving room for like weeds and stuff at the entrance. No, we have to have the dirt path right at the entrance, and everything just needs to be a little more seamless. So I'm making things more seamless right now. So like I said, I wanted it to be very enclosed. I wanted there to be an abandoned building at the entrance, which I will be doing tons of fake abandoned buildings on this island, which I'm really excited for. You guys know I love my abandoned buildings, my fake buildings. If you've seen any of my previous abandoned styled islands, I excel at making fake buildings, what can I say? But I wanted there to be a fake building, so we decided to do the fake building on the right-hand side, and then I wanted I was going back and forth between like a little farm-ish area and then going to like a wheat field style build instead. So I ended up going with the wheat field idea, which you guys will see in a couple minutes. But the giant cliff that's to the left is because first of all, if you haven't seen me talk about this island before, this is going to be a completely flat island. I'm not going to be using inclines. There's no going to be second or third levels with terraforming and like builds on the cliffs, but I will be using cliffs to build up height for areas, and also to make a bunch of like cannons and like canyon style builds. Not cannons, canyons, you know, like with a bunch of like termite mounds, and like basically to look very deserty because this is supposed to be a western island, right? So that's what the cliff on the left is going to be, and I'm going to be placing a ton of termite mounds there in a little bit. You guys will watch me have a lot of fun with that. I already know I'm gonna have to do a lot of traveling back and forth between treasure islands to get all the termite mounds. I probably used at least 20 plus in this build alone, probably even more if I'm being completely honest, but that is what that side is. So that's the whole idea. We have a abandoned building, a wheat field, and then something really fun towards the end that I decided to do that I wasn't even planning on doing, so stay tuned for the end of the video to see what the little surprise bit is. So for the fake building, I'm putting a very small deck down just to give, you know, that kind of more rustic feel. This is gonna be a very rustic-y island, and I'm just finished doing a jungle abandoned island, so the abandonedness of building is still very much ingrained in me, but it's going to be a little bit different because this is a different style. This is also taking place in the fall because I am doing a fall style island. I feel like the fall is a perfect time for a jungly. Like I said, it's in my brain. It's in my brain. It's a very nice time of year for a western island. But the building style is going to be very, very different. So I'm making my fake building using the storefronts and a simple panel for the door. And then I decided out of nowhere, let's just give this little fake building a small balcony. And what's interesting about this building is I was originally going to have this be like a motel or like a post office or something, but I decided I didn't want that to be something I have right at my entrance. So I'm just keeping it very minimal, and this is also a good stepping stone for like the other fake buildings I'm gonna have around the island, because as opposed to just having fake buildings that have like a purpose, these are just gonna be buildings that like people lived in, that people existed in before it was ultimately left, you know, if that makes any sense. So I'm finished with my fake building using a bunch of the storefronts. Like I said, I use storefronts. I'm gonna use retro transportation stops for this island. I'll be using some of the castle items and the medieval building size as well. A little hint to what I did towards the end of the video as a little extra thing that I wasn't planning on originally doing. But I'm just gonna kind of like mix and match various different types of furniture to make these fake buildings, which I'm really excited to kind of experiment with, even though I've done many versions of fake buildings like this before, so it's not like it's something I'm new to trying to do, if that makes any sense. So now I'm making my wheat field. I quickly put a couple down and then just quickly jumped to when I was finished putting them. You guys don't need to watch me put wheat fields down. I wish there was an easier way. It takes forever sometimes for me to put wheat fields down, but they look good. They look good. And I'm also experimenting with the barbed wire fence. I think this is definitely going to be a key fencing on my island. I downloaded some additional fencing codes, which you'll see me show you guys towards the end of the video, which looks really, really good. And then I'll be experimenting with other types of fencing as well. I grabbed a bunch because I feel like you can use a ton, like the log fencing, the spiked fencing, the country fencing, the hedges. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun experimenting with different types of fencing for this island for sure. But yeah, so I'm also gonna be using a bunch of vines and like a lot of overgrown elements like weeds. Flowers are gonna be interesting for this island because I'm kind of up in the air about what flowers I should use to match the very rustic brown tones of the pathing I'm going to be using and the like furniture and everything. But yeah, I think it's gonna look good. We'll see. I do use one type of flower in this video, which you guys will see in a couple of minutes. But for the most part, I'm probably gonna keep it more trees and shrubs. Probably more shrubs than trees, if I'm being completely honest. I think a lot of this build, the builds on this island are going to be very scarce in terms of natural plants. I'll be using, like I said, tons of termite mounds and tons of weeds and wheat fields, but I feel because this is supposed to be deserty, even though there are a lot of plants in the desert, I want this to be very, I don't know, not too crazy in terms of the color palette when it comes to the overall like landscape of the build. So anyway, in terms of the building for a lot of this island, especially when it comes to the cliffs, like I said, I'm going to be using a ton of termite mounds, and primarily I'm going to be using termite mounds, shrubs, and cactuses and regular weeds. So today, I'm actually showing you guys the entire kind of process of what I'm probably going to be doing for this island.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But just know in future videos, except for when we do streams for this island, which we will be decorating this island on stream, I'm hoping quite a bit because I feel like this is going to be a lot of fun. If that's something you guys would like to see, let me know. But today I'm going to show you guys the process of how I'm going to be placing a lot of this stuff down. A lot of this is going to be perspective as well, because another really fun thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting the DA for this island to a very foggy morning if I can find one, which luckily I actually do. A little spoiler, I do find a very foggy morning for this build, thankfully. I did have to time travel to find one, but I did. So today I'm going to show you guys the process of me building up my cliffs, but in future builds, in future streams, or except for in future streams, in a lot of future videos, you will not see me decorating a lot of my cliffs. For the simple fact that this took me a long time to get the way that I want it to. And something that's very similar to this island, about like the jungle island I was just finishing, a lot of it involved me placing a lot of trees and fake trees that took a long time to place the way that I wanted them to be placed. So I cut out a lot of that footage, and I'll be doing the same thing for this island, just for the simple fact that it takes up too much time realistically. And do you need to see me placing 100 termite mounds? No, you don't. No, you don't. So today you get like a little sneak peek of what it looks like for me to put them down. So exciting, I know.
Sure, Jan.
It is a little trial and error when it comes to placing this down, because I want it to look natural, because I want this to look like very rocky cliffs, and the termite mounds are the perfect item for this because they match the color scheme of the cliffs. So when I do build up to like the second and third cliffs and I'm just placing a ton of the termite mounds along the cliffs, the brown of the termite mounds matches the cliff brown color, if you know what I mean. So it'll work really nicely and there'll be a lot of seamlessness. I might use some garden rugs as well. I do have obviously some already grabbed, and I was debating using them in this build, but they just didn't end up working for this particular build, but I will be using them eventually. I'm also going to be using tons of the covered wagon, if that's what this is called. I can't remember the exact name for it, but this is a item I've used on one island before, and that was my medieval witchy island, because it was medieval, so the covered wagons just obviously worked for the style of the island. But I've been dying to use this, and what suits a western town better than the covered wagons? They're perfect. I'm using the springy ride-ons to add some like horses. It's gonna be over around like a very old towny western island, and I'm very excited. So one other reason that I kind of struggled with this particular build, or not one reason, but I did struggle a couple of times figuring out how I wanted to build this island, for the simple fact that it's such a small space, and because this is my entrance, I always feel like entrances are a great like mind map of how you want your islands to look. So a lot of this build was me putting items down and then kind of picking them up and then rearranging them. And you'll notice that throughout the build, a lot of my pathing changed just because I kept like changing how I wanted this to look. A part of me really wants this to be a very simple dirt road. Another part of me wants it to be very windy and kind of smaller in terms of size. That's one of the reasons I originally had my road code further back. It was originally a 3 tile long code, and then I was using the single tile like going up code because it looks like tire tracks or like what's it called, the covered wagon tracks. So I was kind of experimenting with that and really fiddling with like how I wanted everything to look. So I'm still very much in the early stages of planning out how I want this island to look. I do have a video coming earlier next week showing you guys the villagers I want for this island and their roles, because I'm going to have a ton of fake buildings. We're gonna have a bank, we're gonna have a sheriff's station, we're gonna have a jail, there's gonna be a saloon, and I did do a little bit of brainstorming with you guys on stream when we were doing our code shopping last month, but I've really been taking my time and figuring out what villagers I want for this island, because I want them all to be kind of character driven. I want this to be a very specific I want them to be very specific to the theme and very specific to their role in the Western town, which isn't something I've very much done before. Obviously, I make sure that my villagers match my themes the best that I can, but I've never had actual character rules for my villagers, so I'm very excited to experiment with that. So like I said earlier, I am rearranging and moving around the pathing a little bit, and here's the one flower I was pretty sure I was going to use on this island, which is the Black Cosmos. It's a nice pop of color. I say that with quotation marks, obviously, but it's a nice difference in terms of color with like the more pale browns and greens of the natural landscape. And then you get that pop of color with the black. And another item I'm really excited to use, which I didn't even think about using until I was making this build, is the scorpion models. Like, how cool! Like, it's a desert. Scorpions, like 1 + 1 = scorpions, or you know, you know what I mean?
Huh? What?
Like, it fits perfectly. So I'll be using tons of scorpion models, which I'm very excited for. I think it's gonna be a fun little surprise element to incorporate into builds.
Oh. Okay.
I'll also be using the creepy skeleton model a couple times here and there, I'm pretty sure. I'm also going to be doing probably like a dig site, so you'll probably see the creepy skeleton model there. Among the other dropped items I'm probably going to use are going to be some mushrooms, the scattered papers like you guys saw, which have a really cool wanted poster of red on them as well, if you guys can kind of see it right there. And then I'll be using also some toy centipedes. I was always using toy cockroaches on my other abandoned islands, but I feel like for a westerny desert island, the centipede kind of works a little bit better, and also it stands out a lot better on the color scheme with the pathing. Like the toy cockroach kind of disappeared, to be honest, when I put it down. And I feel like centipedes are a little bit more deserty, if that makes any sense. I've never been to a desert climate, so I'm not sure if that is accurate or not, but let me know if I'm being accurate with that. I know that scorpions can be found in more dry climates and stuff like that, but I'm not 100% sure about the centipedes. But anyways, I'm kind of fiddling around with the overall layout of the build at this point and kind of building up my cliffs. You'll see that I did extend the cliffs a little bit further, like right here, but this is when I decided I really wanted to do a tunnel kind of transition space over to my res services, so I decided to experiment with the castle gate, and I ended up loving how it looked. So I did have to fiddle with the layout of the cliff so that the cliff wasn't in the way, and then I did 2 castle gates and some castle items that kind of like cut off the back section of the fake building, and this is gonna be a really cool transition space, I think, over to my res services. I'm probably gonna do kind of like a district, more open town square area next to my res services. So this was a great spot to kind of like section off this area to the next area. And I haven't really used the castle gate as an actual gate or transition space into another area, except for I think on my witchy island. So it's gonna be fun to experiment with that. This is a great way, once again, to incorporate larger items and to give my areas more height, considering I won't be using inclines or second story buildings and stuff. So a lot of fun to experiment with that. I'm really excited that I came up with this concept, because originally I'm like, what am I gonna do from where the covered wagon is? I don't know. But anyways, like I said in the earlier part when I was talking about the barbed wire fencing, I did download the broken fencing code. I forgot that this was a thing until I'm like, wait, isn't this an item or like a custom design that people have used before? I have to find it. Well, and I found it on Pinterest, and I'm so excited because it looks so good and it's so in theme. I'm trying to find very in theme single path items that I can use, or single path codes. So like you have like the broken bottle one I used earlier, this broken fencing. Look how cool the centipede looked on the path.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now come on now.
And I also have like broken glass, some like hay I'm gonna use as well. And I think this is gonna be a fun way to kind of experiment with the more wrecked theme of the island. And I'm very excited for it. I'm also so excited that there's a wanted poster on the plain wooden shop sign that's just comes with the game. Like, how perfect is that? But anyways, I'm so excited to show you guys the final product, especially in the fog. Can you see the fog in the background? It looks so amazing, and I'm so pleased with how this island turned out. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video as well. I'm very excited to be back with a new island, and I can't wait to post more content for you guys. If you did like today's video, make sure to like and comment. Like I said, it helps me out so much. And subscribe if you are new here, if you would like to see more videos of this new island, as well as some really fun streams. And become a member of the channel if you would like to support my content further. Link and info to all of that is listed in the description of the video. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to work on this island. It's gonna be so fun. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!